What is up? This is the War Dog, and you are watching Comic Book Theater with my co-host JR. What's going on, JR?
What's up, War Dog? How's it going, man?
I'm freezing in my garage, but I'm dressed up as warm and snuggly with my wife's knitted cap.
It's very pretty. It's very
So
pretty.
today we've got some interesting we've got some fun things to talk about today. The
Absolutely.
Mandalorian, the 1984 Wonder Woman trailer, um, the Ghostbusters trailer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hand it off to you, and why don't you just get us started?
Right on, man. Yeah, we got a full plate tonight. While we're recording this week has seen quite a few of the top what we would consider blockbusters that are going to be dropping. Um, Show up with some new trailers. But honestly, the hottest thing in nerddom right now is the Mandalorian still. I know last week we didn't talk about the Mandalorian much, if at all. Honestly, I think that's because last week felt like a filler episode to me personally. It was easily the lowest stakes and the one that felt the least impactful to me. It felt like they had recorded like a 35-minute episode just to see a pair of boots that were fairly nondescript walk over a dead body, and you're like, well, why would we? Who cares? That's
Yeah,
you know
I
what I mean.
yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. That bounty hunter kid was a non-factor, and then the beautiful woman bounty hunter that they meet at the end ended up dying. So at the end of the day, and then you didn't really learn anything new about Baby Yoda either. So it just was kind of a waste. I think the most important thing that they were trying to do was maybe incorporate the Sand People.
Maybe some, but even then, I don't really know that. I don't know that they're going to have much impact. And I'll tell you, the things that I looked at, I tried, for this week's episode for our show. While watching that, I was doing some extra research and stuff. And really, let's be honest. Oh, and by the way, guys, real quick, we're already starting to talk about it, but spoiler alert, if you haven't seen episode 6 of The Mandalorian, pause right now, go watch it, and then come back, okay? You won't miss anything then on the podcast, and we won't feel as though we've spoiled anything for you. But we're going to talk openly and honestly about it. That way everybody kind of knows what's what. Um, I enjoyed this week's episode immensely more. Um, it started out, and Mark Boone Jr., who played Bobby Munson on Sons of Anarchy, uh, is one of the guests that are starring in this week's episode, putting together basically a heist team. Um, it was a good, quirky, oddball heist team. Now, Todd, you enjoyed another guest spot. Who is your favorite guest on this week's episode?
Well, I'm a big fan of Bill Burr, the comedian, and when I seen him in this episode, I was like, yes, yes, because for comedy shows, I mean, he's great. I've seen him in other shows, and he's usually kind of like a sidebar character. And this one, he was a little bit more of a main character. And man, does that guy have comedic, I mean, timing? Because
Mm-hmm.
in this episode, he was dropping these sly, dry jokes, and I was smiling ear to ear throughout the whole thing. But uh, not only Bill Burr, but the whole cast in this one was outstanding. The guy that looked like the Satan character played an outstanding part. The female character with the tentacles off her head played a fantastic part. And then her brother was interesting even at the end.
It was a great surprise. Okay, great surprise ending, twofold, and that I like that a great deal too. Now, you knew that there was more to the story than what he was being told whenever they, and again, we're calling it a heist. It was really a prison break. Same general concept, really. You put together the team goes in, crap hits the fan, the plan goes awry, and they have to figure out how everything's going to work out. Well, this one, um, there were so many different things happening, different levels of things happening during the episode. It was hard to put your finger on which one was really truly the main most impactful thing that was going to happen for the overarching story of the Mandalorian. And the child, or Baby Yoda, as most of us have come to call it, as Baby Yoda. Um, because Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian are separated. Baby Yoda staying on the what do they call his ship? Is it the Emblem?
No, it's I don't know the name of it at this moment.
I can't think of it off the top. But anyway, stays on the Mandalorian ship, but was discovered by the team while in hyperdrive, basically, um, going to the prison break. So, and they don't know exactly what he even is, which speaks volumes to remembering back to when we were talking about it at first. While Star Wars fans are absolutely familiar with Yoda, Yoda's species is so rare, most of the galaxy don't even really know they exist. And so it's not at all out of place for all four of these other, you know, alien races to actually not even understand what that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you got me thinking a really interesting thought, because we had talked earlier that there's this is an 8 episode run, and so there's 2 more episodes, and episode 8 is probably going to end with dropping a bomb, right? And talking about this Yoda race, I was thinking about Yoda on Dagobah, and I thought, like, why didn't he go to his home planet and just hide there, right? So I mean, wouldn't that be amazing if they go flying to wherever their home planet is, and there's all these Yodas or Yoda-looking characters walking around?
Yeah, it would be amazing, and the reason that it would be amazing is because, like we were talking about before, there's like 5 of them, and that were ever written, and like 2 of them were taken out of canon when Disney bought it and said, no, these stories over here, they're legends, they're mythology for the Star Wars universe. They didn't really happen. They're just kind of stories that they tell their kids, that Jedis and Siths tell their kids at night, that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, it would be groundbreaking if the Mandalorian series actually revealed Yoda's home planet, revealed that there was any real substantial population of his species anywhere, or revealed what the actual name of Yoda's species even is. You can't find it. It's not online. That's the reason we're all calling him the baby, either the child or Baby Yoda, because we don't know what else to call him, for crying out loud. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like a green Mogwai, I think. But
Yeah.
Yeah, there was another thing about this episode. It was almost like a callback to the prequels when those robots come around the corner, and I really got this like rush of like, holy cow, this is like the prequels. This gives me this prequels feel, and it was almost like a positive, a good energy.
Dude, the one thing I will say and it's Jon Favreau that's writing this one, correct?
Yes.
He knows how to hit the right buttons for the fandom, okay? So yes, you see the droids coming around, there are callbacks to not just the prequels, but then the laser fight down the hallway come on, man, that harkens back to the original trilogy as well,
Oh yeah.
with breaking Leia out of the brig as well. I mean, there are a lot of similarities and parallels, and fans like it when they don't have to be exact. You don't have to copy an idea, but get some parallels, get some symmetry going. Whether you want to call that fan service or not, you gotta pay attention to them, because they're the ones who are paying the bills, man. If the fans don't care, if you're missing the mark with the fans, who cares? People say they make their art for the sake of making art. Dude, if ain't nobody paying bills for it, is it really art?
Yeah, I agree. And Favreau's doing an amazing job. And I'm so glad that Favreau's on board. I hope he's the president of Lucasfilm going forward. You know my feelings about that. I won't get too far into that. But I mean, he's done a pretty good job on this. One of our friends has said, this feels like a Hallmark kind of a show. And, the one thing you got to realize is it's Disney. And I think they've done a pretty good job of making a family-oriented show that's still entertaining enough for adults. Now, would it be awesome to see like Road Warrior type Star Wars? Yes, but this is pretty good for family-oriented, I have to say.
Look, the other one, and this is one of the twists or one of the things at the end of the show that really, I think they did a good artful job at, as the Mandalorian is disposing of his teammates. You get the very distinct impression that he's murdering every single one of them, just in cold blood, because he's got the opportunity, he's got the ability that if he needed to, just off him, just kill him. It's totally cool, totally could. But then you see at the very end that he actually imprisoned all four of them, and they were arrested. Now, having said that, that feels like they're softening the Mandalorian. Like, because if you go back to the very beginning, he didn't care. Murk everybody, dude. It's totally cool with him. Murk everybody. But now, because he's getting into that
fatherly role,
well, galactic style Big Daddy kind of thing, where he's softening a little bit because he's rolling with Baby Yoda all the time. Yeah, he is. He's softening, which I had hoped that they would have made him a little more cold-blooded, and that might have been a harder transition for him to make. So in that way, that's a bit of a criticism on my part of them, that they're softening him, and it's so easy for him to become soft. I would have liked it better if there, and again, these are small criticisms. This is not a large criticism. Last week was filler episode. Like I said, they shot 35 minutes of it to show somebody's boots. And I will tell you, I think it's legitimate, just as a quick sidebar, I think it's totally legitimate, the theory that people are having, that Carl Weathers is going to be back again this season. Because we were talking before we started recording that, while looking on their IMDb page at the cast and crew, Carl Weathers was in episode number 1 and number 3, if I'm not mistaken. He has a third episode coming up. My guess is it's got to be one of the next 2 episodes. Now, I know, Todd, that you said, well, he was shown as a hologram in this one. I'm not sure that counts. I may be wrong, but I'm not sure that him showing up as a hologram counts.
I don't know. And, I mean, with 2 episodes left, I mean, we even talked about Gina Carano being in the next 2, possibly was supposed to be in 3. So So I don't know, but let me
Yeah.
before we go any further, there's first of all, he did put them into prison, but was anybody flying that ship? That would be my first question, because they were on a ship. They killed the guy that was flying it. He put them into the prison. So I don't know who's flying the ship. So that was one of my thoughts. And then the very ending of that, where he drops off the guy, flies away, and then the X-Wings come in. And that goes back to fan service again, because when I saw those X-Wings go flying by, I got like a chill. Like, holy cow. And I think one of the pilots was actually Dave Filoni, who's another one of the Star Wars writers.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 pilots, and I think one was Filoni, if I'm not mistaken. But, let me know what you think about it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it is a lot like what we're talking about fan service. I mean, this is the New Republic. You got to remember that too, as a New Republic. So technically, and part of the reason for him for them writing it the way they wrote it this time was technically he's still kind of a gray area character. He's kind of an anti-hero still, because the New Republic are the good guys. The Republic was trying to be brought back by the rebels. You know what I mean? Against the Empire. It was not Imperial, it was New Republic. So that kind of makes him where, man, he's kind of gray area. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, he didn't want to kill anything that he saw as being a living creature, but was totally cool with completely killing everything that was automated. If it was an android, he was going to kill it.
Well, one other thing about him saving those characters, in this, I think this more goes to movie making and casting. I mean, that was a really great cast. I mean, they were very entertaining. Bill Burr was dropping perfect jokes. I mean, the Gungan joke, he wasn't a stormtrooper joke, and then that Satan guy was hilarious. And I've already said, I like all the characters, but I mean, keeping them alive. The good thing about that is there's the potential that we get to see them again, and so I don't mind that so much.
And honestly, the theory that I'm going to throw out there at you is that I don't believe that Carl Weathers, I don't believe that even if he is seen again this season, I don't think that his arc is near done. Okay.
No, I don't think so. And you know what? Sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're fine.
It might tie into the Gina Carano.
It could.
She could bounty hunt or betray him or something,
Absolutely could. And as you do a TV show like this, the threat level has to ebb and flow. But overall, the trend needs to go up to a crescendo, and that crescendo could be over 3 or 4 seasons. I personally would love to see it go 3 seasons. I'm a fan of Doctor Who, and specifically the Matt Smith, written by Stephen Moffat, Doctor Who series. And there was a thread that went over 3 seasons with that Doctor Who, and it was great. There were tie-ins. There were things that made you want to go back and rewatch episodes. Now, I also believe that that's going to be key to the success of The Mandalorian, is the rewatchability of all of these episodes. If they find a way in these last 2 episodes to tie together the previous 6 a little bit better, don't need to put a bow on it just yet. But you definitely need a placeholder that says, yes, even the one that I thought was filler, number 5, even it's important. If they find a way to make that more important, man, at that point, the sky's the limit for this. And I will start to be, again, I enjoy it. I just think there are a few things they could do a little better, a little different. and that could just be my personal taste in the matter. I know that it's getting rave reviews everywhere else, though.
Well, I think the Baby Yoda is supposed to be the thread, you know, and so like the last episode, it, I think they're trying to build up how much the Mandalorian it cares about Baby Yoda and wants to protect him, and I think that's the whole thread on all of that. I mean,
I I somewhat agree. I personally, though, also think the next two episodes, Baby Yoda needs to be in real, actual peril. We talked about it. This for this week's episode of The Mandalorian is that really, truly, I think that Baby Yoda was playing with the droid. I think they called him Zero.
yeah, I think it was
Um,
Zero.
I think he was playing with him and toying with him like a baby or a toddler would play with something that maybe they shouldn't play with, but play with it nonetheless. But I really never thought, and I don't think anybody else really ever thought, that Baby Yoda was in actual peril because of the droid. I just don't believe that.
Now you got me going off on all these tangents here. With now, remember? Okay, so Yoda goes walking in to go fight Dooku, right? And he
Yep.
limps in, right? All of a sudden, he pulls out his lightsaber and he's jumping around like he's Superman, right? Then the
Yeah.
fight's over. He picks up his cane and he starts limping again, right? And then in the original trilogy, he plays the goofy character in the beginning, and then all of a sudden becomes the Jedi Master. So I said maybe a Yoda world would be awesome, but I mean, Baby Yoda's 50 years old, right? So
Yeah.
potentially he could just be playing, doing the exact same thing as Yoda. I mean,
I
and what?
hey, I like that idea. I love that idea that he would be playing the fool when actually, in all actuality, he's never been in any peril this entire time. Not
It's
even when the Mandalorian came to get him.
it's possible. I mean, I don't. I think from a story perspective, I think that would be an interesting storyline. But from a merchandise sales, I think they want to probably keep the whole Baby Yoda thing because he's cute and they want to sell toys, which goes into I don't like Kathleen Kennedy, and I can't believe that there are no Baby Yoda toys available for Christmas.
There,
The most
yeah,
popular freaking character in Star Wars, and there's no toys. I mean,
there
that is
won't.
terrible business.
Yeah, there won't. To my understanding, there are not going to be any officially Disney licensed toys until like April, for crying out loud, which boggles my mind that a company as powerful and as big as Disney could not fast track some Baby Yoda merch ASAP.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean that would have been like a Cabbage Patch doll, I think. Yeah, and I mean it's funny because I go into the store and the Star Wars aisles keep shrinking and shrinking, and the toys just look terrible. I mean some of the black line figures look pretty cool, but man, this Baby Yoda could have been a really hot seller, and that's what George Lucas made all his money on was
Yeah.
the merch.
Well, and this is the other thing too, is think about this. Now, we all know that pops are a good cross section of all nerddoms. They're licensed to everybody with everything. They're pops for everything. I will tell you right now, I had a Han Solo pop that you would think would be an easy seller because it's freaking Han Solo, for crying out loud. Guys our age who didn't love Han Solo, coolest dude ever. It was Han Solo from The Force Awakens. I had it really reasonably priced. I was only asking like $5 on the thing. Not that terrible expensive at all. I couldn't sell it. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted it.
Well, I mean, do you really want to buy a deadbeat dad? I mean, a deadbeat dad toy? I
Well, I
mean,
mean, I know that we're doing intergalactic Maury Povich here
yeah,
with that, but I mean, like you say, it's one of those deals where it's just like I don't know. Like I say, I shrug my shoulders at some of that stuff because I think, like what you just said, one of the things that made Star Wars the phenomenon that it is was the merch that they sold, the toys for the kids, the ability to have so many playable things with your movie ingrained it into our heads as children that Star Wars is cool. You then go to now, and let's be honest, like I say, I think that part of the issue with the movies is the merch is just rehashing. Any of the merch that they're doing is basically just rehashing the same thing they did with old merch.
yeah. I think their best hope. I mean, as far as like ships and stuff go, is the Mandalorian ship right now. I mean, that would be pretty cool to have the Mandalorian ship next to Boba Fett's ship, and then the ship right before the X-wings came in and blew up the place. But they were going to send this ship after him to blow him up, and I saw that ship and I was like, oh, that's that. Now that is cool, and it just goes back to I think Favreau is awesome, and I just watched Iron Man #1, and he sparked the whole Marvel thing. I mean, Iron Man #1 was written and was done by Favreau, and that is, I mean, if I'm going to put my money on anybody, that's the dude right there.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%. And like you said, it turns out he didn't write episode 5, and that's the one that I think so far has been the glaring weak spot in what otherwise has been a really good first 6 episodes. I can't, like you say, can't say enough good things about the other episodes, but number 5 just didn't,
Yeah,
it missed the mark to me.
yeah.
So
Kathleen Kennedy probably got one of her buddies to write that one, and that's why it's terrible. But okay, so we talked a ton about the Mandalorian. We
yeah.
beat it to death. So there were 2 trailers that dropped. One was Wonder Woman and one was Ghostbusters. So let's talk about Wonder Woman first, and then we'll get into Ghostbusters. So
Right.
give me your thoughts, and then I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
All right. Well, I will tell you. I have some mixed thoughts on the Wonder Woman trailer. Now, one thing is, um, I like the feel of going back and doing kind of a prequel. Now, this is the downside to going back and doing a prequel. You have what is already canon for Justice League and Batman versus Superman. Okay. Unless you're scrapping all of that completely, which I kind of am a little okay with, because
I
let's be
think they
real
are.
here. I kind of get the feeling they are too, and I think they should, because I think that they were both kind of missteps. We've talked about it before. Not every character in your entire arsenal should be dark and brooding. Batman is dark and brooding. Let him be Batman. Superman should be eternally hopeful. That's who he is, okay? And that's the reason why you call him the big blue boy scout and stuff like that, is because he represents that hopefulness, not naivety, not being naive, but rather just being hopeful in humanity. So that's when, like you say, I think they missed the mark in Batman versus Superman. But in there, you hear in those movies, you hear Bruce Wayne calling out Wonder Woman for being completely absent since World War One. Okay, and so with that being a thing, you then have this prequel that happens between Wonder Woman #1, but before before the Justice League movie and Batman versus Superman. And this is some stuff that's going on here. Bruce Wayne would have had to have known about. So if you're not scrapping those two and just being like, they don't count anymore, we're doing away with those, they were total garbage, and we're acknowledging it. Unless you're doing that, it really undermines what they're doing with Wonder Woman here. Now, having said that, the lady that they have playing Cheetah, she's a very pretty lady. I don't know that much about her. I think that they're setting up something that could be good. I don't know. I think the jury's still out on a little bit. I do like most of the Lasso of Truth work that they did in it, but I got to admit to you, there's right there at about the 2-minute mark of the trailer, they show Wonder Woman using her lasso of truth to basically ride lightning. Now, I'm not a Wonder Woman connoisseur that way. I didn't think she could do that.
Oh,
I don't know. I could be wrong.
yeah.
Have you ever heard of her being able to ride lightning that way?
No. When I was a kid and I was watching the Super Friends, she drove around in an invisible jet where you just basically seen the lines, and she was just sitting there. But I think I think you bring up a lot of interesting points in what you said. First of all, DC did an awesome job casting Aquaman. They did an awesome job casting Wonder Woman. Batman was a terrible casting. I like Ben Affleck, but I mean, did you really think that he was going to play Batman for 10 years?
No, absolutely not. 100% no. I liked him as Bruce Wayne.
He was stiff as Batman.
Yeah, I didn't like him as Batman. It's the same thing that I had with Tobey Maguire playing Spider-Man. Good Peter Parker, crappy Spider-Man. So that's where I come across as it just no thanks, not the world's worst casting, but not great casting either.
Well, I mean, that's the misstep between DC and Marvel, because Marvel, I mean, they built this franchise on the back of Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Helmsworth, and it's not to disrespect any of the other characters, but those three guys were, I mean, even when I was watching Endgame, at the very end of Endgame, they got like the prize billing. And I mean, DC, you cast Ben Affleck, you got to cast somebody that's going to play the character for 10 years. I have a feeling Momoa will play Aquaman for 10 years, and I like Momoa as Aquaman. I love Gal Gadot. I'm not even,
Zachary Levi as Shazam was really good, and I will say this because I've had fresh eyes on it. And just a full disclosure, I watched Shazam for the first time here in December, and I watched it, and I'll tell you right now, it's the first DC movie since Wonder Woman that I will purposely go back and watch a second time. I've got Aquaman on my DVR still. I've only watched it once, but I know it was a very enjoyable movie. I think they killed it with Shazam. I think Shazam could have legs to have 4 or 5 movies in the series, and then join it with a future telling of a better Justice League movie. You know what I mean? I could totally see that.
Now, here's where I disagree with you, is with the Superman. I really liked Henry Cavill as Superman, and I've watched Man of Steel. I think I was on vacation one time and it was on, and I watched it and I was like, wow, I love this. But I like the guy that played Zod. I thought he did a good job. But in the Justice League movie, and Josh Shelton, one of our buddies, brought this up, was when Superman, right towards the end, where Superman comes back and everybody's kind of like fighting against Superman. That was like an oh shit moment. Like, those oh shit, and I
Yeah.
think like by screwing up the casting of Batman, right? I mean, they could have made Cavill learn from this experience and become that good guy Superman if they had that whole Marvel 10-year thing going on, right?
Right, right.
And,
No,
and
hey,
that, oh, go ahead.
what I was going to say is I like Cavill as his look for Superman, and I think he can pull off Clark Kent and Superman respectively. I don't care for the way they wrote him though, because like I say, to me, he needs to be that guy that's he's eternal hope. He's the one that even Batman. And look, I like the line that Batman has in Justice League where Bruce Wayne says to Alfred, he's more human than I am. I'm paraphrasing there. I don't remember it exactly. But he basically is telling Alfred that Batman and Bruce Wayne are less human than Superman and Clark Kent are. And that's why the Justice League needs him back, is because he's more human than Batman is. Um, but do you understand what I'm saying there and how I interpreted that line?
I do, but I mean to go back to what I was saying, and I'm sorry to not piggyback off of yours, but like if you remember I think Kevin Costner played his father in The Man of Steel, and there was a tornado coming, and Kevin Costner was kind of like, just stay back, just let go. And so once again, I think like if they had cast Batman correctly, they could have maybe made Superman into that hope. But I also, and we're going to talk about our year-end special, and one of the good movies that I thought, and one of my favorite movies for this year was Brightburn, and that was the Superman story told from an evil perspective. And I'll be honest, I love that movie. And so like I didn't mind the Superman being a little bit different. But let me get back to the whole Wonder Woman thing, because we could talk about any topic probably and beat it to death. The one that Christine Wiig, she was from Saturday Night Live, and she was in Ghostbusters, and she's more of a comedic person. And I just don't think that was a good casting. I don't know. Hollywood always beats the drum of how holier than thou they are than everybody. And you got a character like Cheetah that could literally be played by any woman of any ethnicity or race, right? And I could actually see Cheetah more as a Hispanic lady, or cheetahs are from Africa, so I could see a cheetah being a black woman. And I think a lot of movies, they make the mistake of like, here's a perfect scenario. I've even seen it in comics. Like, we're gonna make a Red Hulk, but instead of he's gonna be a white guy. The easiest way
Yeah,
to explain why he's a Red Hulk would be that he's got different skin pigmentation, right? I'm not
absolutely.
offended by that.
Well, right, and it would have been a perfect scenario to bring in you've already brought in a partially new character. Go ahead and make him a completely new character, especially if you're going to do something with him. Why make him Thunderbolt Ross? You know what I mean?
Oh
Why
yeah,
why do that? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And to a certain extent, I know that people like Cosmic Ghost Rider. Why did you have to make him Frank Castle? You
I
could.
try that is the exact same argument. I would have made him Blade or something, and that would
You
have made
you
it so much better.
you could have made him. You could have made him quite literally anyone.
Mm-hmm.
He was already going to be popular, and all you would have done is instead of increasing a fandom that's already fairly large, you could have created an entirely new fandom.
Oh yeah.
It could have been Brother Voodoo, for crying out loud, or for real. It could fill in the blank. There were so many variables there that could have changed it to anybody, and you chose Frank Castle, who's already a relatively established character that already has a Netflix series and cameos in another Netflix series, and has had several volumes written for him. And again, I'm not disparaging the Punisher at all. You guys, man, the Punisher is up there. I mean, he just is. But they have these, to use a sports metaphor, they have the ball set on the tee, for crying out loud. All they have to do is knock it out of the park. That's all they have to do. And they find a way to dog people like us for liking certain characters. But then whenever we're like, you know, you didn't really need to do that character that way, all hell breaks loose at that point. But when we bring up something like the characters we just brought up, you get crickets out of them. Like, we didn't think about that. Really, you didn't think about that? Really?
That's funny because as I said, we're going to do our year-end one. Probably one of the writers we might mention is Donnie Cates, right? And Donnie Cates is the one that actually did that. And I think, like you said, it's a big misstep. And the comic book community is very. I mean, I think the comic book community, as long as you give us good stories, we're welcoming to anything. I mean, Luke Cage, I watched on Netflix, and that was one of my favorite series on Netflix. I didn't care that Luke Cage is a black guy. I thought it was a phenomenal show. I mean,
absolutely. Well, and even, you know what, I will tell you too, the first season of Black Lightning, I liked the first season of Black Lightning. I'm still DVRing it, but I'm, again, interest of full disclosure, I haven't watched any of the new seasons of any of the CW shows, the Arrowverse shows. I'm behind on all of them. I've been watching other stuff. I'll get caught up, so, you know, it's not like I'm dying here. But I mean, you know, to kind of get back into the Wonder Woman thing, circling back to that, you know, we get into these things where, and just like that, how long did it take for DC, for Warner Brothers, to say, you know what? I think that one of our Trinity is Wonder Woman. Let's get her in here. She needs to have her own movie. And it took them for freaking ever to get there, man. You know, 2017 is when you're going to get a Wonder Woman movie. Really? Come on, man.
And you and I are old enough to
game.
You and I are old enough to remember the TV show. And I mean, I still have fond memories of that TV show. I mean, yes. Wonder Woman's a cool character. And I'm happy that they picked Gal Gadot. She seems like a terrific person. I've seen interviews with her. She doesn't seem like she's politically motivated, and she's beautiful, and she's got a great personality. And also, like, you know, I criticize Star Wars a lot, but the girl that plays Rey, I think she's phenomenal. Personality-wise, I think she's a phenomenal human being as well. Even though I'm not the hugest fan of the sequel trilogy, I think she's a great person.
So this is my opinion on Gal Gadot. Okay, I like her. I think face-wise, a perfect, complexion-wise, great. To me, her frame, she feels a bit slight, a bit small for Wonder Woman. Now, I'm not saying she needed to be hulking like bodybuilder Wonder Woman.
Gina Carano?
Yeah, I mean, that build, yes. And look, that personal preference, that's my personal preference for her. She just feels a little skinny for Wonder Woman. And look, anybody who wants to write in the comments, guys, I know exactly what her credentials are, okay? I know that she was in the military at one point, blah, 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 okay? I'm just telling you my opinion. And again, it's a small criticism, but if somebody wants to blow it out of proportion, feel free. I'll answer any comments that are made about it. I think she was a bit skinny for Wonder Woman.
Well,
Personal opinion.
let me blow it out of proportions a little bit because
Sure.
she's superhuman. So, I mean, even if she is a little bit skinny, right? I mean, Batman's got to. Well, I mean, Christian Bale played Batman, right? And he's kind of like
Oh yeah, and
a
he's a skinny
smaller
little
dude,
punk.
right? I mean, granted,
No,
Christian
go ahead.
Bale's body changes in every movie that he plays. I mean, the guy's amazing.
Right. Look. I'll put it like this. I get that her strength does not come from the size of her muscles. I do get that. I'm just telling you that whenever I look at hey dude, let's go back and look at the Art Germ Collectibles Wonder Woman 750 that's coming out. That cover that's done there, Wonder Woman has some curves and some musculature that you can definitely see. Okay, and again, look, Gal Gadot is a very pretty lady. I'm just telling you what, in my mind, perfect casting would be her face on a slightly more muscular body and a slightly curvier body, and it would be perfect. That's just my opinion.
Oh, you're
Now,
just a Power Girl fan.
that is part
You
of it.
Power Girl fans.
Now I will say this. This is the one thing on the Wonder Woman trailer, and I'll finish. I'll be done after I say this about the Wonder Woman trailer.
You
For
might
me
not be
personally,
after I say what I say.
well, maybe you're right. I may not be, but the one thing that I really like is right about the 204 mark in the trailer itself. Wonder Woman is rocking the Elseworld story of Kingdom Come's armor,
Yeah, that was awesome.
and dude, that golden eagle type armor that she's rocking there is, man, again, that to me is one of those where you're like, it just hits it gives us that little bit of fan service there that's like, yes, there's a possibility they're at least referencing Kingdom Come. Who knows, man? Maybe we could get lucky and eventually get a Kingdom Come movie. Um, and honestly, if you think about it, that Kingdom Come Superman is a bit darker. If they wanted to salvage it, they could just slap on their Kingdom Come and be like, "Oh yeah, guys, we were building the Kingdom Come this whole time. We win."
John, I don't think they could do that after the Shazam movie, though. Wasn't Shazam pretty dark in Kingdom Come 2? Wasn't he like a bad guy almost?
Shazam was being brain controlled
Oh, okay.
by
Yeah, okay.
Lex Luthor and by Lex Luthor. So yeah, they probably couldn't. They would have to say, and again, you got to remember, we can do multiverse stuff. So they could say, well, Shazam and Aquaman, those movies, those are not part of the. But they're again just like that. If they're willing to give us a reasonable explanation on why they're not actually associated, they could, and we would buy it. I want to buy it. I want to believe.
Yeah. No, and that's another good tie-in to our year-end special because Alex Ross is probably one of our artists of the year. I mean, he's done beautiful covers on Immortal Hulk, Captain America. The guy's just amazing. I don't know how he completes all those. I mean, because they're so detailed and beautiful, man.
Absolutely.
But
No,
let me give
go
you my
ahead.
last point on Wonder Woman, and then if you have a comment on it, or you could keep talking about what you were going to say. Sorry to interrupt you, but my last comment on Wonder Woman is, and this is one of the problems I had with Aquaman, is they introduced Black Manta, and then he was kind of just like a 10-minute 15-minute part of that movie. And it seems like with this Wonder Woman trailer, they're showing us Cheetah, but how many? I mean, I don't get the impression that we're going to get like an hour worth of Cheetah, where the joke, the Heath Ledger Joker was a big character in that movie, right? I mean, Batman was about an hour, Heath Ledger was about an hour. This one, it looks like once again we're going to get kind of here's Cheetah, Wonder Woman's going to beat Cheetah, and then it's over, and she's going to fight a whole bunch of meaningless people before she fights Cheetah. And I don't see Cheetah being a character that carries over into the next movie. But, I mean, that's my final thought.
Yeah, there is kind of that feeling. I think part of that feeling stems from the fact that we don't see Cheetah as Cheetah yet. We see her alter ego. That would be my caveat there.
Yeah, that's making me want some Cheetos.
Yum. Chester the cheater at that point. So
you want to talk about Ghostbusters really quick, or you want to wrap this one up?
You know what? I do want to talk about Ghostbusters real quick because of the trailer, of those two trailers, the Ghostbusters one has me actually more excited than the Wonder Woman trailer. What's your opinion between the two?
I think my feeling on both of those is about equal. The last Wonder Woman movie was so good, so unexpectedly good that I have high hopes for it. So maybe going into that, I'm excited. The Ghostbusters does look good. They do go back and pay homage to the original Ghostbusters. I was listening to the Critical Drinker do a review, and he said that he expects that at least Bill Murray and the three other dudes that are still alive are going to end up showing up somewhere in this movie. And then I think the Critical Drinker, he always refers to people like Carl Weathers, he calls him Apollo Creed in his videos, right? So he was calling what's his face Ant-Man. And he made a good point that, Ant-Man is kind of a good Paul Rudd is actually a good character in a Ghostbusters movie. So,
I agree. The casting for Paul Rudd, okay, he has great comedic timing. He's the reason that anybody cares at all about Ant-Man as a hero. Let's be real. That's legit. If it wasn't for him and his casting, nobody would care about him. Now, things I like about this trailer. It definitely has a Stranger Things feel to it. That's because of casting of one of the kids from Stranger Things. So you got to get that out of your head. Now, I will say this, the kid that is cast from Stranger Things, he's giving me an Egon Spangler vibe, like really hardcore there. With the glasses and the wild hair, it just kind of feels like Egon. Now, I may be wrong, but I think that would be a great way to pay tribute to him, to the actor, to Harold Ramis, since he's passed, that, you know what, we're going to actually center this around his kid, and then he is the catalyst for the old Ghostbusters reforming, finding a way to pull Paul Rudd into the franchise as well, and making it feel like a continuation there. Now, let's be real here. The last Ghostbusters, it missed the mark, dude. It just missed the mark. I don't care anything about the feminine or anti-feminist agenda, whichever one of those things that you think that comment falls under. I don't really care. My actual opinion is that the only saving grace of that entire movie, the only thing that was funny at all, was Chris Helmsworth. That was it. I don't think there was anything else in there that was especially funny at all. And I'm sure that all of those ladies individually are and can be funny. That movie was not funny.
Yeah, I haven't even risked watching that one. I've watched some reviews on it, and they're all like scathing. You know, I mean, I like your point that Paul Rudd. I don't see Paul Rudd becoming a part of the old Ghostbusters because Bill Murray didn't want to have anything to do with Ghostbusters. So I think it's going to be more. I think it's going to be more of a Stranger Things with the kids kind of growing into that role. The only thing is, I wish they were a little bit older. Um, I wish they were 20-year-olds or something instead of kids. But I'm optimistic that it's going to be good.
I think it's going to be good. Um, I see it. I honestly do think that and I thought that last time I heard Dan Aykroyd say anything about this new Ghostbusters was that the original cast, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, and possibly Sigourney Weaver might actually all make, at the very least, cameos. And look, man, they're talking about Egon. If the kid is Egon's kid, or if Egon is maybe even the grandfather, it's hard to say exactly how far into the Ghostbusters mythos this is in the future, because it does show up with some Ghostbuster suits there. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I will say this: I can't wait for another trailer to come out that shows some stuff that we haven't seen yet.
Well, I mean, I really hope that they don't over CGI the ghosts because I didn't watch the disaster movie, but it looked like they got a little bit carried away on the ghosts and everything. And then I watched it #2 the other day, and I thought they did a decent job CGIing the monsters, but still, it just didn't feel. And maybe this is just me being old, where Freddy Krueger is actually a dude in a suit, right, or dressed up, right? So I mean, I hope they don't over CGI it. I know they will, but I hope they don't make it goofy. I hope there's a little scariness into it.
Well, yeah, I would be okay with a little scariness, but you got to remember, Ghostbusters is a comedy, man. It in its heart, Ghostbusters. The first two were comedies. The third one was a dumpster fire, but it was meant to be a comedy. I think they could do a darker comedy with this still. I mean, the way it looks from this trailer, I mean, you got three kids running around in Ecto One just wrecking a town with a Ghostbuster pack on his back. It's it looks like it's going to be very entertaining. Um,
I don't know. Those are big shoes to step into, though. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd. I don't know the other two guys' names, and I'm sorry.
oh no, you're fine. You're fine. No, it's Harold Ramis and Ernie Hudson.
Okay. I mean those are pretty big shoes to step into because those are like comedic legends, and I don't see the Stranger Things kid comedic as a comedic actor as much as a dramatic actor. But I would be okay with it being somewhat more dramatic. I think that could work as well, especially after the last movie just went completely overboard on the comedic. I'd be okay with it being a little bit dramatic.
Well, I mean, I think you can marry the two. I think, especially in today's day and age, more so than any time in our past, you can marry the two, where it can be dramatic and still just be laugh out loud funny in spots, and that can be a recipe for success. Now, what one thing I will say too here before we wrap this up, one of the things that I have noticed on the market, with in respects to Ghostbuster comic books, they haven't really seen that big of a spike with this trailer coming out. You would think a trailer that's been viewed 12.5 million times on YouTube alone, you would think that that would spark some interest in some comic books. You can still get the first appearance of the real Ghostbusters in comics from, I think it's from Now Comics. I believe I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll correct it in the comments later. Who it was that published the first the real Ghostbusters. But it you can get that book for like $5 still, which is a travesty, really, if you think about it. Of all the books that are out there, the fandom of the Ghostbusters, you would think would have a fandom where at least 10 to 20 for a book that is 30 years old, you know?
I don't know. I don't know if there's enough. I don't know if the Ghostbusters translate to comics very well. Because I mean, I be honest, I really wouldn't have an interest, I mean, I would relate that to the Han Solo movie that was a bit of a failure for Disney. I mean, Harrison Ford played Han Solo. He was legendary as that character. He is legendary as Indiana Jones. You know, I so to see anybody else play Solo, the only person that played Indiana Jones that I accepted was River Phoenix. I thought he did a pretty good job in the beginning of the third movie, but I think with Ghostbusters, where I'm going is that you got Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie.
Hudson.
Ernie Hudson, and those four guys are just legendary, kind of like Harrison Ford is legendary for Han Solo. So without those guys, actually, that's what made the movie to me.
I agree. I agree. They had a good chemistry on film. They had the good timing. They did well. I mean, even Rick Moranis, I think he's an unsung hero of Ghostbusters 1 as well. The dry accountant humor that he was doing, was great. It was absolutely great. So like I say, I look. You're gonna go back. You're gonna watch the Ghostbusters, and it's gonna give you the nostalgic feeling. I'm not sure that the new Ghostbusters is going to give you a ton of nostalgia, but what I think it will give you is, I think it'll give you a fairly good rendition of an updated version of the Ghostbusters franchise. And, I think that possibly this could be the franchise going forward. I think they could do something if they hit it right. And I think Dan Aykroyd's hands are all over this one. And I think that makes a big difference as well, is that Dan Aykroyd is all over this one. I think that will help do nothing but help it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the formula for Ghostbusters works. You just got to do it right. And I think there's a lot of variability with it. Like you can make it a little darker. You can make it needs to, when you're talking about ghosts, you need to have a little darkness and funny. And I didn't watch the last movie, but from what I've seen, it just looked like they just tried to go too far funny. I mean, even when you think about the library scene in the beginning of the first Ghostbusters, I remember being a kid seeing that ghost and being like, "Oh shit, I don't want to go to bed right now." Yeah,
yeah, it freaked you out. I'll put it like this: if they were trying to be funny, they were miserably, woefully awful at it. For the last one, Chris Helmsworth was legitimately funny in
yeah.
it, and nobody else was. Like, it just.
But was Chris Helmsworth funny because you envision him as Thor, and then you seen him in that movie, and you're
That,
like,
I ain't gonna lie to you, that could have been part of it, to be honest with you. But I mean, they were kind of treating him in my opinion, they were treating him in a sexist way.
"Oh yeah, yeah, I heard that."
But, but I know that that's not going to be a very popular opinion. But it doesn't make any less true. But because I'm a dude, I can be okay with finding that funny. I think it was funny. He was funny. Their interactions with him was funny. I didn't find anything else funny about it. I just nah. So I think that this will be a good redemption for the franchise. At least I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I hope so. So let's wrap this one up. Give your final thoughts, and then I'll ramble mine.
No problem. So final thoughts are going to be a little off topic, but not much. We've referenced it a couple of times. Look over on Facebook, find the Comic Book Theater Podcast page, and go. Right now, we're not open to voting. Monday is when we're open to actual voting. We're in the nomination process right now. Nominate Writer of the Year, nominate Artist of the Year, nominate Breakout Artist of the Year, Cover of the Year. We've got 2 separate for Cover of the Year. Go nominate these. Show some stuff. Show some support for these people. This is a prestigious award that people should want to win for me and Todd. I'm even thinking about getting actual awards for it and sending them to these people who aren't looking for them and probably won't use them. But by God, it's important because it's not coming from me and Todd. It's coming from you. It's coming from our viewers, our listeners. That's why it's important. That's why we need you to participate. Participate in this. Let's have some fun. If you know these people, tag them. Get them involved even. It's totally cool. Adam Fields is one of the people who was a guest very recently with us. He's been nominated as Artist of the Year. I think he's got a legitimate shot because it's not about big bucks with this. It's about who's going to be a fan and who's going to support them.
All right. Well, the year-end type awards are always cool. It's always cool to talk about all the great stuff that happened over this year. Like, for instance, I was at the gas station and they said that Disney had like 5 movies that were $1 billion, and I'm sitting there thinking like, holy shit, I wish I would have bought some stock in the company before this year, right? Because Star Wars is still coming out. And so to piggyback on the whole Star Wars thing, Star Wars is actually coming out, and I'm pretty sure that I'll go see it within the first week. So I have a feeling John might be itching to go see it as well, possibly. So yeah, you're muted there, John. But
I know.
you pulled it, Todd.
You know what the funny thing about it is? I didn't even say it out loud. I knew I was muted, and I went anyway, just to be goofy about it. But it was it's okay.
Yeah, but we might actually have a Star Wars show and tell you our reactions to that. And I mean, you know my opinions. From what I hear, this Star Wars is going to be insane. I've seen something where like it dropped in Sweden or something, and all the crazy things that YouTubers have been saying are actually going to happen. And I also saw something where George Lucas said that Palpatine's dead, but Palpatine's on the poster. So if you're not if you're going to be excited for any show, that's going to be a fun show. Hell, we might have several guests on that show. So that's all I got.
Yeah,
We can
man,
end it.
that's all. I'm good with it, man. Y'all
All
be
right.
good at it.
Peace out, everybody.